Think baseball's always been home runs and hot dogs? Think again. This game has survived gambling scandals, world wars, steroids, and even a global pandemic. Every twist changed the rules, the players, and the way we watch. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how baseball became what it is today. And I promise, there are stories in here they didn't teach you in Little League. The early years, 19th century origins to 1900. Start with a sandlot, a few clubs, and rules that change every season. Baseball grew from amateur clubs into a professional fight for order. The National Association launched in 1871. The National League followed in 1976 and brought discipline, scheduled play, a ban on gambling, fewer barroom brawls, more real pennant races. You like structure. The NL made sure fans got games on time. Rules kept shifting. The pitching distance moved to 16 feet 6 inches in 1893. Offense spiked at first. Pitchers adjusted later. Home plate widened from earlier specs during rule tinkering. Umpires gained authority. Owners chased credibility. Stars emerged. Cap Anson drove in runs for Chicago. Cy Young piled up wins that sound fictional. Not everything felt heroic. Gambling lurked behind the curtains. In 1877, 4 Louisville players received lifetime bans for throwing games. Integrity needed teeth, not speeches. The league map changed often. Teams folded. New clubs popped up. Fans chased box scores through newspapers. Rivalries formed around rail lines and civic pride. Crowds packed wooden grandstands that would make a modern fire marshal faint. You want a fun bar bet? Ask who ran the sport back then. Answer: a rotating cast of owners and league officers who argued about everything. Money, contracts, travel, even who supplied baseballs. By 1900, pressure built from a new challenger. The American League stood ready. A year later, the AL began play and raided NL rosters. 2 strong leagues stood face to face. The sport finally had a real foundation. One more piece remained: a championship series. By 1903, the World Series stitched both leagues together and gave October a purpose. Question for you: would baseball have survived without tough rules and a rival league forcing progress? Hard to see another path. Ready to watch the ball die, then explode? Time to ride the roller coaster of offense. Transition to the dead ball era, where pitchers tightened the screws and runs felt rare. The dead ball era, 1901 to 1919. Welcome to low scores and dirty baseballs. Pitchers ruled. Managers squeezed every inch from a single run. Rule changes from 1901 to 1903 helped arms across both leagues. Foul balls started counting as strikes. Home plate widened to 17 inches. Hitters faced more pitches on the edges. Strikeouts rose. A soft, scuffed, and often filthy baseball stayed in play far too long. Long flies died in outfields. Stadiums swallowed line drives. Home runs barely showed up. In 1908, the top hitter in the American League finished with 7 home runs. Teams leaned on bunts, steals, hit-and-run plays, and scratch wins. Win 2-1, go home happy. Strategy felt ruthless. Managers ordered sacrifice bunts with nobody out and nobody on. Fans loved the chess match. Pitchers hid spitballs and other trick deliveries within the rulebook. Then, outside the rulebook, umpires missed plenty because the ball looked like a bruised lemon. Offense still broke through now and then, but the pattern stayed the same. Few runs, tight margins, tempers ran hot. Corruption simmered too. Gamblers hovered around clubhouses. Rumors followed series that swung in suspicious ways. Tension snapped in 1919. 8 Chicago White Sox players conspired with gamblers and threw the World Series. The Black Sox scandal crushed public trust and hit owners where they feel pain. Ticket sales, headlines, reputation. You want to feel the stakes? Baseball risked losing families and newspapers for a generation. Out of crisis came authority. Owners hired Judge Kennesaw Mountain Landis as the first commissioner in 1920. A single figure with the power to punish and ban, not whisper and beg. He banned the 8 players for life. He promised a cleaner game and a firmer hand. You still hear about dead ball tactics today during small ball debates, but the era faded fast after 1919. A livelier ball and stricter ball handling rules sat on the horizon. So did a guy with a swing built for skyscrapers. Transition to a thunderclap. Power arrives. Records fall. Radio turns sluggers into legends. The live ball era, 1920 to 1941. Flip the switch from chess to fireworks. Starting in 1920, offense surged. Fresh, clean balls went into play more often. Umpires removed damage balls. Trick pitches like the spitball phased out for new pitchers. A cork-centered, tightly wound baseball turned long outs into seats 2 rows deep. Babe Ruth broke the single-season home run record with 54 in 1920 after leading with 29 in 1919. The message reached every park. Hitters, attack. Fans, roar. Power took over the sport. The 1927 Yankees, known as Murderers Row, mashed pitchers into headlines. Lou Gehrig posted totals that looked like video game sliders. Jimmy Fox joined the show. Average earned run averages floated around 4 runs during this period. Owners noticed full stands. Some owners even pushed an even bouncier ball in 1925. You want drama? Watch Babe Ruth launch 60 in 1927 and set a bar that haunted sluggers for decades. Stadiums opened sightlines. Radio carried games into homes. Grandparents told stories that children repeated to friends at school. Your family probably has one of those stories. Major League rosters stayed segregated, a stain that shadowed every box score. The Negro Leagues answered with excellence. Rube Foster formed the Negro National League in 1920. Stars like Josh Gibson and Satchel Paige drew sellouts and created their own legends. Separate did not mean lesser quality. Talent thrived wherever the gates opened. The era closed with grace and grit. Joe DiMaggio's 56-game hitting streak in 1941 felt like a curtain call for the great hitting wave. America stepped into war months later. Rosters would thin. Travel would change. A new kind of sacrifice loomed. Fans still loved offense, but national priorities turned to ships, tanks, and letters from overseas. Transition to ration books, night games for war workers, and teams held together with teenagers and veterans. World War II in transition, 1942 to 1946. War touched every locker room. Over 500 major leaguers served during the conflict. Across majors and minors, over 1,300 players, coaches, and umpires wore uniforms that did not include pinstripes. Stars left rosters. Ted Williams, Joe DiMaggio, Bob Feller, and so many others paused careers to serve. President Franklin Roosevelt sent the green light letter and urged baseball to continue. Morale needed summer afternoons. Factories needed a diversion after swing shifts. Quality dropped. Some clubs signed older veterans. Others gave teenagers a chance. Rosters included players with 4F classifications who stayed stateside. Offense cooled compared to the roaring 20s and 30s. Pitching depth felt thin. The schedule shifted under wartime limits. More night games arrived to fit war production schedules. Train travel replaced planes. Clubhouses stretched dollars and made do. Fans still received history. The St. Louis Browns won the 1944 American League pennant, a once-in-a-lifetime event for that franchise. The All-American Girls Professional Baseball League launched in 1943 and became a hit across the Midwest. You know the movie. The real league kept fans in the stands and let baseball's rhythm run through a hard decade. By 1945, bats warmed up again. Lighter bats, ambitious swings, and returning confidence pushed runs higher. Veterans returned in 1946 and found a league ready for a moral victory. Pace changed. Rosters grew stronger. Owners watched attendance rise and looked past wartime glitches. The next step would transform the sport's soul. Color lines would fall. Generations of black stars would join the majors and raise the ceiling for everyone. Transition to courage, fast feet, and a post-war boom that reshaped every roster and city map. Integration and the post-war boom, 1947 to 1960. Jackie Robinson stepped on a Brooklyn field in 1947 and turned baseball toward justice. Pressure fell on one man in a white uniform with blue trim. Robinson hit, ran, fought through taunts, and won. Larry Doby integrated the American League the same year. Doors opened. The majors drew in the best black talent from the Negro Leagues. Willie Mays, Hank Aaron, Ernie Banks. Satchel Paige added his legend in Cleveland. The speed, power, and baseball IQ from these stars lifted the game. Post-war prosperity met brilliant rosters. Offense stayed lively. Fans packed stadiums and turned to televisions. New York ruled championships. The Yankees, Dodgers, and Giants took home almost every World Series from 1947 to 1958. Missing only 1 year. Heroes grew larger than life. Mickey Mantle swung for the upper deck and ran like the wind. Sandy Koufax found unhittable late-decade form. Kids copied stances in stickball games across boroughs. Geography shifted. Americans moved west and south. Teams followed. The Boston Braves moved to Milwaukee in 1953. The St. Louis Browns became the Baltimore Orioles in 1954. The Philadelphia Athletics shifted to Kansas City in 1955. The Giants and Dodgers stunned New York and moved to San Francisco and Los Angeles in 1957 and 1958. The West Coast finally had big league baseball. Radio voices found new markets. Day games met Pacific sunsets. By 1960, every team's roster included black players. Latin American stars stepped forward as well and raised league talent even higher. You enjoy a modern big league style because this era opened doors. Attendance records piled up. The game felt healthy and national. One more wave waited. Expansion. More clubs, new divisions, a run of pitching dominance approached. Transition to more franchises, a taller strike zone, and numbers that sent hitters to the video room for answers. Expansion in the pitchers era, 1961 to 1968. Growth found the majors in 1961 and 1962. The American League added the Los Angeles Angels and a new Washington Senators in 1961. The National League added the New York Mets and the Houston Colt 45s in 1962. The league count reached 20. New cities joined the party. More fans saw big league summers. Over the next years, the map widened further across California, Texas, Minnesota, and into Canada. Montreal would debut in 1969, but the groundwork began now. Rule makers tilted the field toward pitchers. In 1963, the strike zone stretched from armpits to the top of the shoulders. Umpires rang up more strikes at the letters. Hitters chased. Scoring fell fast. From 1962 to 1963, runs dropped by more than 1,600. League batting average fell by 12 points. Managers wrote aces longer. Offenses pressed. For several seasons, the sport echoed the early 1900s. Low score and grinders. Power on hold. The peak arrived in 1968, known as the Year of the Pitcher. Bob Gibson closed seasons, hearts, and lineups with a 1.12 earned run average. Denny McLain won 31 games. 6 pitchers won 20 games. League batting average sank to .237. Fans watched mastery. Hitters stared at scoreboards. Owners saw a problem. Offense drove attention. The league lowered the mound from 15 inches to 10 before 1969 and tightened the strike zone again. Relief arms would matter more in the years ahead. One more change reshaped half the sport. In 1973, the American League adopted the designated hitter. Pitchers left the batter's box in that league. More runs followed. The National League kept pitchers swinging for decades more. Debates formed around dinner tables. You have an opinion on pitchers batting. Everyone has one. Expansion drew new fans. The strike zone experiment showed limits. The next chapter layered playoffs, more clubs, and new labor power on top of all that history. Transition to divisions, league championship series drama, and players who finally gained freedom to choose employers. Divisional play and free agency, 1969 to 1993. The 1969 season rewired the sport. 4 new clubs joined to reach 24. The Royals, Pilots, Padres, and Expos took the field. Each league split into East and West divisions. A new round appeared before the World Series. The League Championship Series gave fans 5 game showdowns, then 7 later. More cities tasted October. More broadcasters found must-watch programming. The American League expanded again in 1977. Toronto and Seattle joined and raised the total to 26. Ballparks shifted styles. Multi-purpose stadiums and artificial turf appeared in many cities and helped line drive hitters. The designated hitter kept offense lively in the AL. Scoring trended upward compared to the 60s trough. The biggest off-field change arrived through a grievance. In 1975, Andy Messersmith and Dave McNally broke the reserve clause through arbitration. Players earned free agency after service time. By 1977, stars signed with any club after deals expired. Reggie Jackson inked a 5-year, $3 million contract with the Yankees. Salaries climbed. Player movement shook up the standings. Owners adapted. Fans debated loyalty and super teams, then watched anyway. The 80s brought parity at the top. 9 different champions lifted trophies across 10 seasons. Labor conflict surfaced more than once. The 1981 strike split the season in 2. Play resumed. Fans returned. The sport rolled on through great teams and great stars. Mike Schmidt launched moonshots. George Brett hit, then hit some more. The Big Red Machine still echoed from the mid-70s. The Dodgers and Yankees kept selling out ballparks. By 1993, expansion added the Rockies and Marlins to reach 28 clubs. Talk of a new player layer swirled. Then the lights flickered. A strike in 1994 shut down the season and canceled the World Series for the first time since 1904. Trust broke, crowds thinned. The next era would offer homers large enough to pull fans back through the gates. Transition to tape measure shots, record chases, and a reckoning that followed the roar. The steroid era, 1994 to 2005. After the 1994 strike, baseball needed a spark. Home runs supplied fuel. Offensive numbers surged across the late 90s and early 2000s. Fans returned for spectacle. The 1998 home run chase turned nightly highlights into national events. Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa chased Roger Maris and pushed past 61. Every blast felt like a parade. Teams piled up franchise records. In 1996, 3 clubs set new high water marks for team home runs. Scoreboards groaned by summer. By 2000, league earned run average reached 4.77, an all-time high marker. Barry Bonds pushed the single-season record to 73 in 2001. Sluggers filled leaderboards. Games ended 12-10 far too often for old-school managers and pitchers. Whispers turned to questions about performance enhancers. MLB had placed steroids on a banned list in 1991. But no testing program existed until 2003. Rumor took the wheel while turnstiles spun. Anonymous survey testing in 2003 suggested a high usage rate. Real penalties arrived in 2004 and 2005. Suspensions started to carry weight. A 2005 congressional hearing and the 2007 Mitchell Report dragged the era into bright light. MVPs and Cy Young winners faced accusations and investigations. Records gained asterisks in barroom arguments, if not on official pages. Fans felt both awe and doubt. You still feel both. Entertainment value remained undeniable. Stadiums filled for sluggers. Chicks dig the long ball became a slogan for ad campaigns and a statement about crowds. The sport looked different. Strikeouts rose. Walks rose, singles faded. The balance tilted toward the 3 true outcomes. By the mid-2000s, testing and penalties changed behavior. Offense cooled. Pitchers climbed back into control. Front offices started asking new questions. What numbers predict wins better than batting average? How many runs does defense save? Which pitchers miss barrels? A new toolkit approached. Moneyball had a message, and every team took notes. Transition to data shifts, spin rates, and another home run spike born from modern swings and modern baseballs. The post-steroid modern era, 2006 to 2019. Testing stiffened in 2006. A first positive test brought a 50-game ban. Sanctions rose to 80 games by 2014. Offense settled down. Pitchers led a counterpunch. The 2010 season earned a nickname, the Year of the Pitcher. 6 no-hitters, including 2 perfect games, tied fans to highlight cut-ins. By 2014, league ERA dropped to the lowest level in more than 20 years. Power arms headlined rotations. Justin Verlander, Clayton Kershaw, and Max Scherzer overpowered lineups. Bullpens specialized in late-inning strikeout artists. Managers pulled starters quicker and leaned on high-average relievers. Analytics moved from one team's experiment to every team's strategy. Front offices hired analysts. Clubs tracked everything: spin rate, exit velocity, launch angle, defense positioning. StatCast arrived in 2015 and gave fans the same raw data teams studied behind closed doors. Shifts multiplied. Infielders stacked one side. Pull hitters stepped in and found 4 gloves staring back. Batters changed swings to lift the ball and clear infield traffic. Strikeouts kept rising. Walks stayed high. Home runs surged again, but under different conditions. By 2019, MLB batters hit 6,776 home runs, a record. Nearly half the league set franchise home run marks. Average fastball velocity topped 93 miles per hour. Contact skills carried less weight than loud contact. Some researchers pointed at a tighter baseball. Others pointed at training and swing changes. Many pointed at both. Offense looked new, not like the steroid peak, but like an optimized power model. The league also changed playoff structure. A second wild card in each league arrived in 2012 and delivered annual winner-take-all nights before the division series. International talent shaped highlight reels. Shohei Ohtani arrived in 2018 and did 2 jobs at once: elite hitter and elite pitcher. Fans worldwide paid attention. The sport had momentum. One more reset sat ahead, led by a global event and a rules overhaul. Transition to empty stadiums, a universal designated hitter, and a pitch clock that changed nightly rhythm. The contemporary era, 2020 to present. The 2020 season shrank to 60 games and played in quiet parks. Health measured success. Teams tested, isolated, and played through a strange summer. Fans returned in 2021. Debates about pace and contact had grown for years. Games stretched past 3 hours often. Strikeouts climbed. MLB chose action in 2023. The pitch clock arrived. 15 seconds with bases empty. 20 seconds with runners aboard. Average game time dropped to about 2 hours and 38 minutes by mid-season, down 26 minutes from the previous year, the fastest pace since the early 80s. The league also restricted extreme shifts. Infielders must stay on their side of second base, 2 infielders on each side. Feet on the dirt at the pitch. Bases grew larger and pickoff limits encouraged steals. Success rates jumped. Batting average ticked up from 242 to roughly 248 in 2023. More balls in play. More action between pitches. Fans responded. Attendance rose around 8% across the first half of the year. The National League adopted the designated hitter in 2022, ending the split between leagues. Offense found a consistent rule set. Power balls kept launching, though below the 2019 peak. Speed returned as a real weapon. Teams prioritized athleticism and contact alongside on-base skills and power. You get a blend now. Old school feel, modern data. The sport faced integrity storms as well. Electronic sign stealing came to light and forced leadership to tighten boundaries around technology. A brief labor lockout in 2022 ended before regular season games vanished. The World Baseball Classic returned in 2023 and grabbed global attention. Shohei Ohtani stood at the center of baseball again, a two-way force who attracts both casual fans and lifers. Aaron Judge, Fernando Tatis Jr., Julio Rodriguez, and a long list of young stars added spark. Today's product feels faster and friendlier to watch. Analysts still inform every decision. Scouts still win arguments in draft rooms. The balance looks healthier than the recent past. Your viewing experience moves pitch to pitch, action to action. The long arc from 19th century clubs to modern pitch clocks shows a game that adapts and survives. Transition to the credits in your head. One sport, many lives, constant change. You made it through every MLB era. Which period fits your taste? Small ball with bunts and steals? Ruth sending balls into 1920s bleachers? Koufax in a packed Dodger Stadium? The free agency chaos in the late 70s? The 1998 home run chase that pulled friends back to the TV? The 2019 launch angle fireworks? The pitch clock era where you finish a game before bedtime? Drop your pick. Name one moment you'd visit with a time machine. One player you'd follow for a full season. One rule you would keep forever. Subscribe for more sports history in plain language. Short sentences, real stories, no fluff. And tell a friend who needs a quick MLB timeline they will remember tomorrow.